The walls of Rome were not merely fortifications of stone and brick. They were symbols of resilience, of the enduring will that allowed an empire to last for centuries. Stretching from Hadrian's Wall in Britain to the mighty fortresses encircling cities like Rome, Antioch, and Carthage, these walls were built not only to keep enemies out, but also to remind Romans themselves that survival demanded constant effort. Through a Stoic lens, the walls reveal a deeper lesson. Just as a fortress is raised brick by brick, so too is the strength of the soul built habit by habit, action by action, thought by thought. No wall rises in a single day, and no steadfast spirit is formed in a single moment. Both require daily discipline, a steady laying of stones for the fortress within. Imagine a Roman soldier standing guard upon the wall during a bitter winter night. The enemy may not appear, yet his duty remains the same: to keep watch. He cannot control whether an attack will come tomorrow, but he can control his vigilance today. This is the essence of Stoicism: not to demand results, not to chase what lies beyond our control, but to fulfill our duty in the present. A wall remains standing only because countless individuals chose to guard it faithfully. In the same way, resilience in our own lives exists only when we remain loyal to our principles, steadfast, even when no one is watching, even when there is no immediate reward. These walls also tell the story of endurance against time itself. Storms have battered them. Wars have raged around them. Enemies have tried to tear them down, and yet many still stand today. The Stoic sees in this an unmistakable parallel. The human soul, too, is battered constantly by hardship, loss, and pain. Without resilience, it collapses at the first storm. But if strengthened through discipline, it can stand for decades and even leave a legacy for those who come after us. The Roman walls remind us that true strength is not measured in a single victory, but in the ability to remain steadfast across the centuries. A fortress is not built only from stone. It is born from careful planning and the patient labor of thousands of hands. Likewise, resilience in life does not emerge from rare bursts of effort, but from the sum of small, repeated actions each day. The Stoics believe no true achievement comes from haste. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you wish to have peace, do each act as though it were your last." That mindset, focused on the present, on doing each small task with care, is what lays the bricks of the inner fortress. When we value steadiness over outcome, we slowly become resilient, like the walls that have stood firm for millennia. Yet there is a paradox in Rome's walls. No wall is truly unbreakable. Over time, many crumbled. Many once mighty fortresses became ruins. This does not diminish their worth. It magnifies their lesson. Resilience does not mean immortality. Humans, like walls, will one day fall. What matters is not how long we stand, but how we stand. What we protect, what we inspire, what we leave behind. Endurance is not about living forever. It is about choosing steadfastness in each fleeting moment. And that, more than stone or empire, is the legacy worth leaving. In every surviving brick of Rome's ancient walls, we see the imprint of patient, tireless labor. The builders, most of them nameless, devoted their lives to raising structures they knew would never carry their names. This is the essence of Stoicism: to act not for applause, but out of duty and devotion. Seneca once wrote, "A life is not measured by applause, but by integrity." These walls remind us that true value does not lie in fleeting glory, but in the quiet endurance that withstands time. It is this silent persistence that turns lifeless stone into immortal symbols. Take Hadrian's Wall in northern Britain, one of the empire's grandest achievements. stretching hundreds of miles across windswept hills, meadows, and rivers. The Romans built it not only with engineering skill, but with relentless patience. They knew such a wall could never be completed in a single day, but they also knew that if they laid stone after stone, day after day, one day it would stand tall. This is a vivid illustration of Stoic wisdom. We cannot control the final outcome, but we can control the effort we give today. And repeated effort, steady, humble, consistent, creates greatness. Marcus Aurelius, writing during years of endless war, compared the Stoic soul to a wall of stone standing firm against the sea. Be steady like a rock against the waves. Waves may crash thousands of times. Spray may fly in fury, but the wall remains unmoved. Not because it feels no pain, but because it accepts the nature of the sea. So it is with life. Challenges, betrayals, losses will come. But if we remain steadfast, we will not be swept away. True strength is not in avoiding storms, but in standing firm within them. Interestingly, the Romans never built walls for vanity. They built them to protect life, to guard communities, to preserve shared values. And this reflects Stoic purpose. We endure not to show the world our strength, but to safeguard what matters most inside us. A wall does not need praise. It only needs to stand when the enemy comes. A Stoic does not need the world's applause, only the resolve to remain true when adversity strikes. Endurance is not a performance. It is the deepest duty of all. Yet Roman walls also teach us another lesson. Resilience does not mean rigidity. Many walls were designed with flexibility, curving with the land, reinforced with ditches, towers, and layered defenses. The message is clear. Steadfastness is not about being unyielding, but about holding firm to purpose while adapting in form. Stoics understood that life is ever-changing, and humans must adapt too, but never at the cost of principle. Like the walls, we may bend with the terrain, but our mission remains the same: to protect the soul within from the storms without. When we walk among the ruins of Rome's ancient walls, we don't just see crumbling stone. We hear the whispers of history. Each weathered block, stacked by hands long forgotten, still carries the spirit of those who once built them. A Stoic would remind us that resilience is not about remaining perfect or untouched, but about leaving a mark, even when no longer whole. Just as broken walls still stand as witnesses, a human being, scarred and wounded, can still embody strength if their spirit holds firm. Seneca often stressed that we do not grow resilient by avoiding hardship, but by passing through it. The walls were not raised to escape storms, but to withstand them. They were tested by rain, by war, by endless assaults, and it was precisely these trials that gave them their value. In the same way, a Stoic soul matures only through testing. No one learns endurance on an easy path. It is loss, pain, and failure that temper inner strength. Like the walls, we endure not because we were never attacked, but because we have learned to remain steadfast through countless blows. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be steadfast like a fortress, but let that fortress be within your soul." He understood that an empire may collapse, a wall may fall, but the inner citadel remains unshakable if we cultivate it. For the Stoics, monuments like these were constant reminders of their duty to build resilience not only in the outer world, but more importantly, within. If the soul is fortified, then no matter how the world changes, serenity endures. And the marvel of Rome's walls is that they were never built in a single day. They rose from repetition, lifting stone upon stone, laying mortar layer by layer, aligning edge after edge. The Stoics believed resilience is forged the same way, in daily habits, in small but consistent acts of discipline. Each time we choose calm over anger, each time we choose integrity over ease, we lay another brick in our inner citadel. No act is too small if it contributes to resilience. Over time, those tiny choices form a fortress no storm can topple. Yet Roman walls also teach another truth. Resilience is never solitary. No one could build such defenses alone, and no one can forge resilience, cut off from others. The Romans knew their strength came from collective discipline, from thousands of soldiers and craftsmen laboring side by side. The Stoics saw in this a reminder that resilience is not isolation. Often, our steadiness is nurtured by companionship, by duty to others, by responsibility to community. Just as walls were raised to protect an entire city, the endurance of one person contributes to the endurance of all humanity. Roman walls did not only stand against enemies, they also stood against oblivion. For centuries, through storms and seasons, through wars that buried entire empires, many of these walls still remain. They remind us that resilience is not about standing strong for a moment, but about enduring through time. A Stoic would say that the soul's steadiness is the same, not just calm in a quiet day, but a tranquility that lasts through years of turmoil. When we persist in guarding our inner peace, we leave behind a lasting mark, even when our bodies are gone. Seneca once said, "No wind is favorable to the ship that has no destination." The Roman walls remind us of this sense of direction. They were not built at random, but with strategy, with a clear purpose, to protect the city, to safeguard the community. Resilience in life is no different. We cannot be steadfast without a goal. The Stoics teach us to define our core values and then guard them with perseverance. Without principles, persistence is nothing but rigidity. But with principles, resilience turns us into an unshakable fortress against all change. Marcus Aurelius, looking at invasions at Rome's borders, compared them to inner battles. He wrote, "As a fortress stands firm against an enemy, so too must we stand firm against desire and fear." This is the lesson Roman walls whisper across time. External enemies may be pushed back with soldiers, but the inner enemies, weakness, anger, greed, can only be defeated with self-mastery. True resilience is not only of the body, but of the soul. A Stoic trains to become a living fortress, a human being who can remain calm even when the world collapses around them. These walls also teach humility. No matter how tall, they are still just tools built to serve. The Stoics remind us that resilience is not about display, but about living rightly. A wall does not boast of its height. It simply fulfills its duty to protect. Likewise, resilience is not about proving strength to others, but about staying true to ourselves, about guarding what matters most. When resilience becomes a tool for service rather than a weapon for pride, we become stronger than ever. Finally, the Roman walls teach us about change. None of them remain whole, yet even in ruin they carry an immortal message. A Stoic sees this and understands. Humans are not immortal either, but the resilience of our spirit can become our legacy. When we live steadfastly, when we keep calm through the storms, we build a wall in humanity's memory. Even when the body fades, that resilience shines as a light for those who come after. This is the immortality Stoicism seeks, not in flesh, but in spirit, in legacy, in steadfastness that transcends time. In the memory of Rome, its great walls were never just fortifications. They were proof of collective strength and the endurance of a civilization. When we stand before Hadrian's Wall, or the remnants that still circle Rome, we do not only see stone and mortar. We see thousands of patient days, tens of thousands of diligent hands, and above all, a shared belief that persistence can conquer time. Stoic philosophy reminds us, a human life is much like those walls. It is not built in a moment, but through daily accumulation. Those who dismiss small acts will never touch greatness, but those who remain steadfast in the ordinary will leave behind a lasting legacy. These walls also bore witness to history's constant change. There were days they proudly stopped invading armies, and days they were abandoned, left to gather moss. Yet it is precisely their survival through centuries that made them symbols. A Stoic looks at them and understands. Resilience does not mean never failing. It means rising again after failure. A broken wall can be rebuilt. A fallen human can rise once more. What matters is not how many times we stumble, but whether we have the will to continue the journey. In his letters, Seneca once said, "Trials are not meant to destroy us, but to train us." The Roman walls prove this truth. Every assault by enemies, every storm of nature, forced the Romans to reinforce, repair, and rebuild. That process itself made the walls stronger. So it is with us. Adversity does not come to defeat us, but to temper the spirit. The Stoics believed hardship is the whetstone of resilience. Without storms, a wall is only a pile of stones. Without trials, a human being is only fragile flesh. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often compared life to guarding a fortress. He wrote, "He who can keep his mind steady against desire and fear has built for himself an unassailable fortress." It is a reminder that while outer walls may be breached, the fortress within, if built with self-mastery and wisdom, cannot be touched by any force. True endurance is not about standing firm in stone, but about preserving serenity within. When the inner citadel is secure, no enemy and no upheaval can shake us. And in this lesson, we see the profound connection between Rome's walls and Stoic thought. One is a physical construction that has endured for millennia. The other, a spiritual construction that has guided minds for centuries. Both were built with persistence, patience, and the repetition of small acts each day. The Romans used stone to raise their walls. The Stoics used thought to raise their souls. And both still whisper to us today. Only perseverance allows us to outlast time, and only steadfastness can make us immortal. When the final barbarian armies surged across Rome's borders, many walls crumbled, and cities fell into enemy hands. And yet, strangely, even as the stones lay shattered, the spirit of endurance those walls embodied lived on. A Stoic would remind us, resilience is not about never falling, but about leaving behind a legacy even after the body has fallen. Just like Rome's walls, broken, yet immortal as a testament to human will. A human life, though brief, if lived with steadfastness, becomes a fortress in the memory of others. From the Stoic perspective, resilience is more than a trait for surviving hardship. It is a way of life. It demands that each day we lay another brick in the fortress of our inner self, even if it's only a small act, remaining calm when insulted, staying honest when tempted, keeping compassion alive when betrayed. These moments may seem insignificant at the time, but when gathered over the years, they form a strength that cannot be broken. Just as Roman walls were not raised by a few hands, but by thousands over many years, so too is the resilience of the soul built from countless moments of quiet steadfastness. Seneca once wrote, "Life is like a river. No one can stop its flow, but anyone can learn to steer through it." Resilience is that skill of steering. The Stoic does not seek to change the current of fate. but to train himself to move through it without drowning. And Rome's walls were the same. They could not stop every enemy, but they gave those within the chance to resist, to prepare, to live one more day. Resilience does not erase hardship, but it grants us the time and strength to face it. Today, as we confront our own modern enemies, workplace pressures, anxiety, disappointment, loss, the lesson of Rome's walls remains alive. They remind us, do not hope for a life without storms. Instead, train to stand firm within the storm. Do not search for a fortress outside. Build the fortress within your soul. And once that inner wall is raised, you can walk through any upheaval without losing your peace. This is the resilience Stoicism seeks to pass down, an inner strength unshaken by the world's changes. In the end, Rome's walls are not just ruins of a fallen empire, but mirrors for us today. They remind us that resilience is the foundation of all lasting value, and that inner freedom is the strongest fortress of all. When we stay true to our principles, patient in our actions, and calm in the face of change, we too build a wall that cannot be destroyed. And within that resilience, we discover freedom, strength, and life's deepest meaning.